Did you know that Soul Train, the famous show that shaped a whole generation, got cancelled for good because of one crazy scene? This shocking moment completely changed TV history and broke fans' hearts. Stick around because we're going to tell you about that wild performance that ended Soul Train and all the behind-the-scenes drama that came after. Every Saturday morning for 35 years, Soul Train gave America an hour of celebrating young black culture. The show called itself the hippest trip in America, and Soul Train wasn't just the place to see the newest dance moves, hairstyles, and clothes, it was also where new music got its first big break. It became the go-to spot for black musicians to get noticed, and by the 80s, it was giving groups their very first shot at fame across the country. It was like a cultural highway that taught everyone how to dance, how to dress, and what music to listen to. Under all those flashy lights, amazing performances, and wild paisley outfits, Soul Train was doing something revolutionary. It was showing black identity in a whole new way. The show was built on fighting back against racist media and racist culture in general, and it grew up during a time when everything was crazy and people were frustrated. Even though times were tough economically while the civil rights movement was making progress, Soul Train kept a positive message about black empowerment that people really needed. It was a way of life for me, my culture, and my generation, says Louis Skikar, a fan-favorite Soul Train dancer. I'm black and Mexican and grew up on the streets of Englewood, and every Saturday morning that was our chance to see our people and enjoy our own dances, styles, eras, and trends. Don Cornelius was the main host of Soul Train and also worked as the executive producer. Cornelius was fed up with how the news always talked about black crime but never mentioned police brutality, and he wanted to change how black Americans looked on TV. Cornelius wanted to see real and positive portrayals of African Americans in the media, so he came up with ideas for his own TV show based directly on ABC's American Bandstand, a really popular hour-long show that featured teenagers dancing to the latest music. Cornelius found local teens for the show who would line up outside the network building every day after school, hoping to get a chance to dance on camera. Black Chicago got a show that didn't just fix the terrible lack of representation, but a show whose whole point was celebrating how talented black people are. It started airing nationally in 1971 with a bold and bright new set that matched its new location and the classic line "Welcome aboard, you're right on time for a beautiful trip on the Soul Train." Pretty soon, musicians were the ones asking to be on Soul Train instead of the other way around. Big names like Aretha Franklin performed during the best parts of their careers, and Stevie Wonder even made up a new song live on the show. The Jackson 5 were regular guests, which made the show even more star-studded. In the early days, artists would lip-sync their hits during filming, but Don Cornelius figured out that live performances were needed to keep the show fresh and exciting. This led to amazing moments like Barry White performing with a 40-piece orchestra and Al Green giving a stunning performance even though he had a broken arm. James Brown even got down on the dance floor with the dancers wearing a sparkly purple jumpsuit. Later, Cornelius made rare exceptions for non-black artists, welcoming performers with soul like David Bowie and Elton John to the stage. For many artists and dancers, Soul Train was deeply personal. Jeffrey Daniel, one of the show's famous dancers, once said, "Soul Train was so personal to me. It started my whole career, but more importantly, it was something that showed young black America." Cornelius made sure the show gave power to black talent both in front of and behind the camera. He built a team of black professionals in every part of production, making sure opportunities were there for people of color. Pam Brown, the show's talent booker, would hold auditions in Los Angeles recreation centers, looking for dancers with unique styles. Cornelius was impressed and sometimes shocked by the bold and creative dance moves coming out of California. He quickly put together a team of dancers who stood out because of their flair and personality. While being a Soul Train dancer seemed glamorous, the job wasn't easy. Dancers filmed an entire month's worth of episodes in just one weekend, recording 2 shows on Saturday and 2 more on Sunday. They had to bring multiple outfits, plenty of energy, and lots of stamina. Unfortunately, they didn't get paid unless they performed alongside an artist, a problem that felt wrong considering the show's mission to lift up black talent. One of the most famous parts of the show was the Soul Train line. This segment, introduced in the second season, had dancers form 2 lines, creating a path down the middle where pairs of dancers could show off their moves. The line became the best part of the show, giving each dancer their moment to shine. While group dances often led to competition for camera time, the Soul Train line gave individual attention to each performer. Many dancers made the most of this spotlight by using props, doing flips, or adding creative touches to grab the audience's attention. The Soul Train line wasn't just a dance routine, it became a cultural phenomenon that's remembered as one of the show's most beloved and iconic features. It perfectly captured the energy, creativity, and individuality that defined the golden era of Soul Train. One of Soul Train's biggest lasting impacts is how it influenced dance. The show didn't just showcase the latest trends, it created them. Dance styles like popping, locking, ticking, and whacking, which later became the foundation for hip-hop, voguing, and breakdancing, were born on the Soul Train stage. Michael Jackson himself learned the famous robot from the show and perfected the backslide, which he renamed the moonwalk, from dancer Jeffrey Daniel. These moves would later define entire eras of pop culture, and it all started on Soul Train. Jeffrey Daniel, a Soul Train dancer, remembered how the show inspired him. All of a sudden on TV, I saw young black kids around my age doing what I love to do best, dancing and looking good while doing it. Up until then, when we were seen on TV, we were either being chased by the police, selling drugs, or in some silly comedy. From that moment on, it was my lifetime goal to be on that program. The fashion on Soul Train was as iconic as the dance moves. Dancers and performers wore bright colors, bold patterns, and cutting-edge trends that became instantly recognizable. From dashikis and bell-bottoms to platform shoes and medallions, Soul Train brought black style into living rooms across America. Jeffrey Daniel described the show's fashion as comfortable, colorful, and expressive, saying it perfectly captured the era. Before Soul Train, black performers were often stereotyped or pushed aside in mainstream media. The show flipped that story, showcasing young black talent and presenting a vibrant, positive image of Black America. Don Cornelius, the show's creator and host, put together a team of black talent both on and off camera, making sure there were opportunities for people of color in every aspect of production. For dancers like Cheryl Song, who was the only Asian dancer on the show, Soul Train also broke racial barriers. Despite initial skepticism from her peers, Cheryl became an important part of the show for 14 years. Her story showed Soul Train's ability to celebrate diversity while staying true to its main mission of showcasing black excellence. Although Soul Train wasn't openly political, it reflected the struggles and victories of its time. The 1970s were a crazy period in America, with battles over school segregation and rising inner-city poverty. Against this backdrop, Soul Train offered messages of positivity and pride. Segments like the Soul Train Scramble Board encouraged viewers to learn about black icons like Phyllis Wheatley and Harriet Tubman. The show also promoted natural black beauty through its partnership with Afro Sheen, a black-owned hair product company. By airing Afro Sheen commercials and promoting natural hairstyles, Soul Train reinforced the message that black is beautiful. Let us take you to the most exciting part that everyone will love, the unforgettable performances of Soul Train. The best place to start is of course at the beginning. The show's first nationally broadcast episode aired on October 2, 1971, featuring none other than Gladys Knight and the Pips. Their performance remains iconic not only for the music but for the energy Don Cornelius brought to their introduction. With his signature deep voice and excitement, he introduced the group as four beautiful people who represent a mighty mountain of soul. That moment set the stage for the incredible legacy Soul Train would build in the years to come. One of the most memorable performances in Soul Train history came in 1973 when a young Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 took the stage to perform their hit song Dancing Machine. The track, a massive success that topped R&B charts and hit number 2 on the pop charts, became even more iconic thanks to their Soul Train appearance. It was during this performance that Michael introduced the world to the now famous robot dance. Seeing the king of pop do the robot perfectly was amazing, and it made the dance a staple of pop culture. While many have tried the move over the years, this performance shows how it was meant to be done, precise, captivating, and totally cool. In December 1975, the legendary group LaBelle brought an entirely new energy to Soul Train with their performance of Lady Marmalade. This wasn't just a song, it was a statement. Patti LaBelle, Nona Hendrix, and Sarah Dash stunned the audience with their metallic futuristic costumes, basically inventing Afrofuturism on the Soul Train stage. Their bold style combined with the funky grooves of their global hit left a permanent mark on the show and on music history. It was a moment where art, fashion, and music came together in a way only Soul Train could deliver. Al Green's 1974 performance was another unforgettable highlight. Unlike most artists on the show who typically lip-sync their songs, 27-year-old Al Green sang live, electrifying the stage with his raw talent and charisma. Dressed in neon platform loafers with one arm in a sling and the other holding a long-stemmed rose, Green gave an emotional and soulful performance that radiated both spiritual energy and undeniable charm. The audience was captivated as he delivered 7 minutes of what can only be described as sanctified sex appeal. It was the kind of performance that defined why Soul Train was more than just a music show, it was an experience. Soul Train also broke barriers by inviting white artists to perform, a rare move for the time. One such moment came on November 4, 1975, when David Bowie graced the stage. However, Bowie's nerves got the best of him. He reportedly drank too much beforehand and struggled through his performances, which had to be re-recorded several times because he hadn't memorized the lyrics. Despite the rocky start, Bowie's appearance symbolized the show's growing influence and willingness to push cultural boundaries. Legend has it that Don Cornelius had a frank conversation with Bowie offstage, reminding him that Soul Train was no place for mediocrity. Like every good thing, Soul Train also came to an end. Its final goodbye left many fans sad, and some still wonder why it had to stop. As Soul Train entered the 1980s and beyond, the music industry started to change. Hip-hop was emerging as a dominant force, and with it came performances that were sometimes seen as too edgy for the show's traditional audience. One such moment was the infamous Milli Vanilli performance in 1989. Don Cornelius introduced them as the first major rap stars from Europe, but just months later, it was revealed that the duo hadn't sung any of their own songs, they were lip-syncing frauds. This scandal damaged Soul Train's credibility. Another controversial performance came from David Bowie in 1975. The eccentric London singer, known for pushing boundaries, showed up nervous and intoxicated, forgetting his lyrics and needing multiple takes to get through his set. Don Cornelius, always a perfectionist, was reportedly frustrated with Bowie behind the scenes. These moments began to chip away at the polished image Soul Train had built over the years. Behind the camera, the show faced challenges as well. There were growing tensions between dancers and producers, as some felt their contributions were underappreciated. Dancers were the lifeblood of Soul Train, creating iconic moves and setting trends, but many were not fairly compensated for their work. This led to friction and, in some cases, the departures of beloved cast members. Additionally, as the music industry evolved, Soul Train struggled to secure top-tier artists. Competing networks like BET and MTV were gaining popularity, and many musicians opted to appear on these newer platforms, which catered to the rising hip-hop audience. One of Soul Train's biggest challenges was its inability to keep up with the times. By the mid-1980s, music, fashion, and culture had shifted dramatically. While Soul Train had been at the forefront of trends in the 1970s, it began to feel outdated. Younger audiences were drawn to edgier shows that embraced hip-hop and urban culture in a more modern way. Don Cornelius, who had always been the visionary behind Soul Train, struggled to connect with this new wave of music. He famously didn't understand hip-hop and often resisted incorporating it into the show. This disconnect made Soul Train feel out of touch with the very audience it once represented. With all these issues piling up, viewership began to decline. Fans who had grown up watching Soul Train felt a sense of nostalgia but were no longer tuning in regularly. Younger audiences, meanwhile, were flocking to shows that felt more relevant to their lives. The magic that once made Soul Train a Saturday morning ritual was fading. In 1993, Don Cornelius made the difficult decision to step down as host. His final sign-off, "Love, Peace and Soul," marked the end of an era. Cornelius had been more than a host, he was the heart and soul of the show. His departure left a void that no one could truly fill. While other hosts tried to carry the torch, Soul Train was never quite the same without him. Cornelius's exit also highlighted a deeper issue. Soul Train was his vision, and without his leadership, the show struggled to find direction. Behind the scenes, the team faced mounting challenges, and the energy that once fueled the program began to dwindle. By the mid-2000s, it was clear that Soul Train could no longer keep up with the competition. In 2006, the show aired its final episode, quietly ending a 35-year run. Fans were left heartbroken, and many wondered how something so iconic could fade away. From its debut in 1970 to its final episode in 2006, Soul Train brought joy and inspiration to millions of fans. Even today, its legacy remains unmatched. Many believe that no other show has ever come close to the magic and cultural impact of Soul Train, and there likely never will be. Fans still speak about Soul Train with deep love and nostalgia. It wasn't just a show, it was a way of life, one fan shared online. Another commented, "Soul Train made me feel proud of my culture. It was a place where we could shine, where our music and our talent were celebrated like nowhere else." These heartfelt words capture just how much the show meant to people. What made Soul Train so special was its ability to bring people together. It wasn't just about watching famous artists like Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, and Stevie Wonder perform. It was about the energy of the show, the joy it brought to every viewer. The show made everyone feel like they were part of something bigger, something historic. The Soul Train line became a symbol of that unity, a place where people could dance their hearts out and show off their own moves, no matter who they were or where they came from. Even after its end, no show has managed to replicate what Soul Train achieved. It wasn't just about performances or dancing, it was about unity, pride, and joy. It gave Black artists and dancers a space to be seen and appreciated in a time when such opportunities were rare. As one fan wrote, "There will never be another Soul Train. It was a once-in-a-lifetime show." The loss of Soul Train left a gap in the world of music and television. While newer shows have tried to capture the magic, they've fallen short. The charisma of Don Cornelius, the groundbreaking performances, and the soulful energy of the show are simply irreplaceable. Soul Train helped define an era, and its impact can still be seen in everything from today's music videos to the modern dance trends we see on TikTok. The show's legacy lives on through the stars it created, the trends it started, and the way it changed how the world saw black culture. Today, Soul Train still holds a special place in the hearts of those who experienced it firsthand. The memories of the show, the performances, and the energy of that era will never fade. As one fan put it, Soul Train was a gift to the world, and its legacy will live on forever. The world will never see another show quite like it, and that's something fans will carry with them for the rest of their lives.